so the next fly we're going to tie is actually a Euro nymph, and it's usually we would do a pheasant tail right here, and I had more complaints years in a row about tying a pheasant tail than we did parachute Adams, so we decided to switch it up this year. And so if you notice the hook I gave you, you can see it's got a little bend right by the eye. So that's called a jig hook. And the bead that I gave you, if you look at it really close, it's got a hole on one side, and then on the other side it's got a slot. So that slot is what it's going to take to get your bead past that little bend in the neck of the hook. So I put it on just the same way I did my other one. But when I slide it forward, go ahead and put this in the vise. When I slide it forward and rotate it, it'll come and sit right next to the eye, and that's what that slot's for. So when you tie on a jig hook, you need a slotted bead. So also I want to tell everybody, you guys will have a video of this class by this afternoon. So everything that we've learned today, you'll have it on video so you can watch it. And so I know it's a lot to remember. How did everybody find that last fly difficult, or not too bad?
Not bad.
Okay. This is actually even going to be easier than that fly. I'm going to use red thread, and so just like on our zebra nymph, I'm going to tie this in. You can see my bead is wobbling all over the place. I'm going to do wraps here until all of a sudden my bead stops moving, which will take a few wraps. There we go. Yeah, the little hole goes over the point, and then the slot comes behind. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do a thread base all the way down to the bottom. All right, so on this fly, normally we would stop right here, right where the barb is. Yeah. So on this fly, something that makes it fish even better is I'm going to take my red thread and I'm going to go around the bend a little bit, and then I'm going to do a couple of wraps right on top. I'm going to build up just a little bit of a red bump back here. So my fly is going to start from where my thread's hanging now, and that red bump is extended past, okay? And that's going to be just it's going to be what we call a hot spot. I'm going to bring my thread back up to the front. I'm going to tie in some wire. For this fly, I'm going to use red wire, but you can certainly use whatever you have left. And if anybody needs any wire, just let me know. I'm going to stick the wire right in the back of the bead. I'm going to tie it in. And I'm going to stop my thread wraps right there. Okay, so that's where I normally would have ended this fly anyway. I want that red hot spot to show off the back. Okay, now we're going to use a different material for our tail. So I passed around, this is a fancy Spanish chicken. It's called Cote de Leon, and some people will call it CDL. If you notice, it's got a really shiny, nice side with good markings, and then the back side is kind of pale. And if you also notice down at the bottom, the markings aren't real pronounced, and you can see the black rib in the middle is kind of wide, and then as you go up, it gets thinner and thinner. So these fibers up close to the top are more preferable for me. I take them off the same way I do the pheasant tail. So I'm gonna, and I want to take a clump here. I don't really have a number for you, but about that many is how many I'm going to take. And the same thing, I'm going to pull them perpendicular to the stem and just snatch them off, and then grab them by the butts. And I've got a nice little clump of CDL. Okay, and I'm going to tie this in the same way. I'm going to bring it right back here where my thread's hanging. I'm going to put the butt ends at a 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to bring my thread over, 2 wraps, which brings it right up on top. And then I can grab the butts and I can pull. So I missed one butt there. I'll get rid of that. I'm going to pull it to a nice short little tail. So about right there. And these butt ends I didn't get a hold of, so I'll just cut these. Okay, now I'm going to take my thread, I'm going to flatten it out, I'm going to tie these butt ends in. So the way, when you're wrapping your butt ends up, the way to get them not to roll over your hook is to come over loose and then pull down. Loose, pull down, and that'll keep your butt ends right up on top of your hook shank. So if you go with lots of tension, you'll just roll them over to the other side. Okay, I'm going to bring it right up behind my bead. Clip those off. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use more pheasant tail. So pheasant comes, the last fly we tied in natural. This one's dyed muskrat gray, but you know, the pheasant tail comes dyed in all kinds of colors. So I'm going to take, for this one, I'm going to do the body. I'm going to use about, it's a fairly big fly, so I'm going to use 4 fibers. So I'll pull them off perpendicular, and that way my tips are lined up. And just snatch them off, cut off the gras-du on the end. So this fly on rivers is fished about what size?
14.
14. So this is a 14 here. So like John was saying earlier, you know, in a lake, I fish these flies up to a size 10, and they're pretty effective. All right, I'm going to take it, I'm going to square my tips up now so that they're all even. And then I'm just going to put the tips right up here. I'm going to trap them in. And then I'm going to hold my pheasant like at a 45-degree angle right up from the base of the hook and wrap back. It's probably how you guys did your marabou last week. And now it's tied in, it's right on top of the hook. Okay, and I'm going to bring my thread back forward. Go ahead and throw a half hitch and just get my bobbin out of the way so you guys can see. And now I just need to wrap my pheasant. Now I can wrap it counter wrap, I can wrap it regular way. I just have to do my wire the opposite way. And like I was saying before, with any material I counter wrap, when I go to tie it off, my thread is pushing it to unwrap it. So wire is much easier to counter wrap than pheasant is. So I think everybody has some hackle pliers in their pack. So for this fly, I like to use them. So what I do is I just bring the tips down, put them in my hackle plier, and then since nobody has rotary, I'll just wrap this the regular way. So right here, I'm going to do just about a 2/4 turn just to keep my pheasant tail together. And I want to do just nice wraps. Don't pull too hard because this stuff will break. And I'm just doing touching wraps coming forward. If your strands start to split apart, then just give it another little clockwise turn. And I'm going to bring it right up here to the back of the bead. Bring my thread over, and I want to wrap behind. Nice tight wraps. One in front, I'll do a couple more behind, and then bring in your scissors and cut this off flush. Okay, so now I need to counter wrap my wire. So I'm going to bring my wire up through, and I'm going to go, wait, I'm going the wrong direction there. Sorry about that. Oop, I just lost a frond. I'll cut that off. So I'm going to bring my wire up. And I'll tie this off. Hold some tension on your wire so that you don't unwrap it. Okay, and hold your bobbin tight and helicopter. All right, so now this fly has, I've got a couple of fibers in there that are long. This fly has a collar, and so I'm going to pass around some shrimp pink dubbing. And shrimp pink is actually this color. It's actually orange. And I'm going to take off a tiny bit. So you see this little clump I have here? That's plenty to do this fly. Bring my thread down. And I'm just putting enough of this shrimp pink. Now this is ice dubbing, so it dubs on differently than the hairs here that you just used. Okay, so I have a short little dubbing noodle there. And then I'm going to just take my finger, I'm going to slide it right up to my fly. And then I'm going to cover a little space right behind my bead. And now I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to build a little red hot spot. So I'm just going to do just thread wraps. And I'm going to try to cover up that slot and give it just a little bit of a red hot spot. And then at this point, I'll go ahead and come in and whip finish. And I want my wraps to kind of move forward up that bead. So one of the things that makes this fly fish so well is it's got this red hot spot up here. And then by the way we tied it, we've got a red hot spot in the back as well. And that's a Frenchie. We do another version where we actually wrap a hackle right through that shrimp pink dubbing and put like a collar on it. But for this class, this is the Frenchie. The only thing that we did a little different is that red hot spot at the back. Other than that, that's a traditional Frenchie. So that's it.